Okay, so we're back for day 2 of Introduction to Functions. We're just going to talk about kind of the breakdown of a sequence and identifying exponential functions and how they kind of work and how to identify what is being multiplied by or what the multiplier is. So first we're going to start off with these 3 problems. I'm not going to do these 3 because I want you to kind of get those on your own once you see how to do these first 3. So we'll just jump right in. Here's our sequence, right? Here's our sequence n, then here's our n, and here's our f of n. So here's our output. So n is our input, f is our output. So when we have f of n equals 12, what's the value of n? So 12 is our output, because it's f of n equaling 12. So we're going to go down here. We're going to look at f of n as 12. And so what's the value of n? It's 5. It's the thing that's right above it. Okay, so if we say, what is the value of f of n minus 1? Okay, so that means we're going to go back 1 to 4, and it's 7. Okay, and that n minus 1 just means the previous term. Okay, so the n minus 1, it's saying, well, if n is currently 5, well, what's minus 1? Well, 5 minus 1 is 4, so that's, now we're talking about the term, so it's 7. Okay, all right, so 17, if f of n is 17, we're going to go down here, we're going to find 17. There's 17 right there. What is the value of n? Okay, well, n is 6. And if we're looking at the previous term, so we're going to go back 1, and we're going to go 12. Okay, so now if we say f of n is 32, we're going to go find 32. There's 32, so f of n has to be 9. And then, wait a minute, this is a little different. This says n plus 1, not n minus 1. So if n minus 1 is the one before it, n plus 1 is the one after it. So n plus 1, so 9 plus 1 is 10, so we're at 37. Okay, so I'll do this one because it's n plus 3. So f of n is 2, so f of n equals 2. We're going to go down here and find 2. So our n value is n equals 3. And then it's asking for n plus 3. Okay, so 3 plus 3 is 6, so that's 17. Okay, so our f of n is 17. So it's saying n3 plus 3, this 3 is 1, 2, 3 is 6, and then we're asking for that term, so it's 17. So now it's your job. You're going to go find f of 27 and then subtract 6 from 8, and what's the term that matches that? All right. Okay, so our next one, it's really looking for the pattern, right? So in this one, we have 6, and then 12, and then 24, and then 48. So the first thing that's happening here is it's getting multiplied by 2. 12 times 2 is 24, and then times 2 is 48. Okay, and it says find the next 3 terms. So we're going to say 48 times 2 is 96. Times 2 is 192. So you all should be using your calculators at this point. So 192 times 2 and 384. I'm not expecting you to do this in your head. Like you should be getting used to using your calculator. All right. All right. So B. Oh man, it's going back and forth between being a negative and a positive. So I have 9, and the number's getting smaller. So we know it's being multiplied by a negative number. Okay, by a negative. So we know this number is negative because it's going back and forth between positive and negative. So positive times a negative is negative. Negative times a negative is positive. Positive times a negative is negative. And so we know it's a negative. And what's happening? It's getting divided by 3. So it's being multiplied by negative 1/3. Okay, or we can say divided by negative 3, but our R value, our ratio, our common ratio here is negative 1/3. Sorry, I missed our common ratio over here. R equals 2. It's being multiplied by 2. Okay, so our common ratio. Okay, so the next 3 terms, so it's being divided by 3 each time. So this one, the next one is going to be positive because it's a negative times a negative. So it's positive 1/9. The next one is negative 1/27. And then the next one is positive 81. Okay, so it's being multiplied by 3 on the bottom each time, and it's a negative, positive pattern. Okay, our next one. So what's happening here? So each time it's being multiplied by 4. So our R value is 4. So 5 times 20 is, or 5 times 4 is 20, 20 times 4 is 80, 80 times 4 is 320. So we're getting to larger numbers here. So let's grab our calculator and go 320 times 4, and we've got 1,280. And then it's your job to get the next 2 on your own. Okay, and our R value is 4. We are multiplying by 4 each time. Okay, so that just means that each time the last number is being multiplied by 4. Okay, so our last one, we are, well, what's happening here? So between here, here, and here, okay, so it is being multiplied by what? Okay, they're getting smaller, so it's being multiplied by a fraction, and it's going to be your job to come up with which fraction it is. It is positive, though, I'll tell you that, because we've got a positive, 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 positive. So everything stays positive, so we know we're multiplying by positive. Okay. So our word problem. You guys have actually started really getting used to using word problems. It's one of the better results that we've seen this year is that you guys are not shy about using word problems, which is fantastic. Okay, so if you're struggling with getting that R value, right? We're dealing with an R value. It's changing by a multiple here, okay? So you can always take the first term or the second term and divide it by the first term to find that R value. So in this case, it would be 80 divided by 200. Okay, so 80 divided by 200. And that R value is going to be, well, you can take your calculator, and I don't mind using decimals here, it's divided by 200. And it's going to be 0.4. So our R value is 0.4. So each time it's being multiplied by 0.4. So we're talking about a bungee jumper here, right? So the first bounce is 200 feet, the second bounce is 80 feet, and the third bounce is 32 feet. So I would argue that this word problem should be going the other way because the first jump is going to be the longest one, but that's what they said in their problem. So our fourth bounce, well, you're going to multiply 32. So you're going to take 32, and you're going to multiply it by 0.4. And you get 12.8. And then our fifth bounce, okay, so our fifth bounce is going to be 12.8 times 0.4. So it's whatever that multiplier is getting, that's what you're going to multiply by each time, okay? So on the fifth bounce, we are 5.2 feet off the ground, okay? So if you're talking about a word problem, you can't just leave it like this, okay? I want a full sentence, okay? So on the fifth bounce, the height will be 5.12. Okay, so this is an example of how I want this question answered. Don't just say 5.12. I want to see 5.12 feet, and I want to see a full sentence. If you don't put the full sentence on there, I'm not going to give you full credit on your test. Okay, so that's our first video for this lesson. There's going to be 3 videos this time because it's a little longer lesson.